What's up, my dudes? In this video I'm going to teach you how to make a prosperity spell jar. Now the first thing you're going to need is any sort of jar. These have already been cleansed and pre-charged, so I'm not going to do that on camera. But all you can do is just place this into some salt, or you can use some smoke incense to cleanse it, or any other sort of cleansing method that you want to use. We're going to be using this one because this is the one that I specifically made for this. But if you want to use a jar like this is from Dollar Tree, and you can usually get them in like a 6-pack, or sometimes you can get them for like a 12-pack, but most of the time it's just 6. So because I already cleansed everything, I'm not going to show y'all how to do that. But like I said, if you want to cleanse this, you could just use some salt, or you can use some smoke cleansing, or you can just have it onto some fresh soil or like some fresh cut grass. That's also a way you can sort of cleanse this. Just whatever method you feel like you need to use is what you can do for this. Now, if you want to start this with something that is a bit more specific, this is just going to be a prosperity jar to just have general effects brought to the person. But if they wanted to, they could have a petition into this. This is just a piece of paper that you can place into this, and it will show the direct outcomes that you want. So the first thing we're going to be adding is the cloves. These are cloves. Cloves are something that is pretty good for attracting any sort of wealth, but it's also going to be a good protective herb that's going to help ground out this spell jar, and it's also something that will help protect the energies that you are also placing into the jar. I'm going to be using 4 pieces. On each one, you can say your enchant that you want to apply to the jar. Remember, these are for protection and abundance, so anything that is protective or abundance related you can add for each one. Next thing we're going to add is turmeric. Now, turmeric is a very good herb for success, but it's also good for any sort of good fortune. So if you would like to be successful in your money endeavors, or if you just want a bit more good fortune to bring you money endeavors, so if you're commission based or maybe you're doing any sort of freelancing, this is good for attracting that sort of energy to you. I'm just going to be placing it into the jar like this. If you would like to, you can measure it and be specific, but it doesn't matter to me. All that matters is that the energies are into the jar. And the next ingredient is cinnamon. Now, cinnamon is always good for any sort of money or money drawing effects, but it's also good for warmth and any sort of abundance. So you don't necessarily want to have your money or finances run cold. You want it to be warm and alive and full of energy. So this is going to be a bit more fire abundance into your energies, but it's also going to be a good herb for abundance. So if you want to attract a large amount of money, or you want to attract a large amount of success, this is good for that. The next ingredient is optional, but it will definitely help if you want to amplify any of your effects. And this is saffron. Now, this is from a store that you can buy them from. They come in these little containers. You could also get larger ones. I work at a place that serves food, so I just collected a bunch that have been used for the juices, and then I just let it dry out. If you don't have saffron, or maybe you don't want to use saffron, you could also, in place of the saffron, you could also use basil. That's a good abundance herb, and they'll also grant you a bit more money attraction to you. But saffron is very good for luxury and also amplifying the amount of money brought to you. And the final ingredient is some wild honey. It doesn't necessarily have to be wild honey, but that is a bit more natural. If you don't have honey, you could also use just some sugar and maybe some moon water. That'll also be a good substitute for this. Or you can use some agave, or if you really just have it, you can just use like regular like pancake syrup if you want that. Just anything that's a bit more sweet and something that's preferably a bit more liquid. This will not only have your finances flow, but honey specifically will make everything stick to the target. So anything that will be brought on, so any of the abundance that will be attracted to the person with this, it will really stick to them and help them to just not only build wealth, but also just have the wealth stick to them. Now, because there wasn't that much space in the top, the honey is going to stay at the top for a little bit. But this is a good chance to not only focus on your energies, but also to enchant over this. So any sort of intentions that you want to bring into the spell jar, whether that be a certain money goal or a certain thing that you're trying to have happen that is related to your wealth or your abundance or your prosperity, this is a good time to focus on that while this is settling. And then as the honey eventually sinks down, or maybe if you just want to close it a bit sooner, just make sure everything is fully into the jar, and then you can just simply close it. Now, all these leftover ingredients you don't have to worry about because this will be part of a spell. But if you are really focusing on the specific materials that you're using, and maybe you don't want to just have these go to waste necessarily, you can have this into a smaller jar, or you can place this into a smaller jar, or you can just have this be with the rest of your materials, and you can just have this be in your money bowl, and that will attract this energy into your money bowl. So that'll help ground out your energies and also help to provide a bit more stability in your practice. This is a very active working jar, so that's why it's coated and painted like this. It's going to be for someone that is going to be actively using it, so they're going to be handling this and enchanting over it regularly and have it out and about with them. So you don't necessarily want to have too many materials into this, especially if you have a larger size jar. You don't want it to be too heavy and not want to carry it. But this is something small enough to where they can use it. It's sealed tightly. I'm going to create a sealed wax around the end in a different ritual. That'll be for another video. If you'd like to see that, then it'll be linked down below. But this is the end of the prosperity jar. Like I said, all these leftover materials, you can just use it in another spell, or if you like to, you can place it in a bag or place it into another spell jar, whatever you feel like using. As you're done with this, and as you're done with the spell, it's a good idea to seal the intentions from this. And after this, you want to do a protection working, because you want to protect the work that you're doing right now, and then you also want to protect the abundance that's being brought to you. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you'd like to know more about witchcraft or other hoodoo related topics, just leave it in the comments below. Have a good day, night, life. Enjoy yourself and be happy.